think that Riesling is so underrated sometimes. It's the most beautiful white grape ever. It's like someone once told me that it reminded them of angel tears. It was just beautiful. There's so many different styles of Rieslings. In this case, this is going to be slightly sweet. And when we say slightly sweet on the palate, it's usually right on the middle of your tongue where you want that sweetness. Think of a dish that you love that has just a little element of sweetness, but finishes savory. That's really what Riesling is all about whenever you're gonna be drinking it with your meal. Don't think super saccharine, sweet, dessert wine, white Zinfandel, heaven forbid. Don't think about those things. Think balanced, just a touch of sweetness, and then just finishes and cleanses your palate and makes you want to eat more. That's what I love about Riesling. It's super cold in Germany, so you always have beautiful acidity. Your mouth just salivates after drinking a little bit of Riesling, and it makes you just want to gobble up whatever's in front of you. So honestly, if it's something that you can consume, it's something that you can pair with Riesling. It's kind of that simple. This is an entry-level Riesling from the Mosel. It's just got a little dollop of sweetness, but it finishes incredibly dry. You get lots of tree fruit elements like nectarines and pears, but with Rieslings, you can get pretty much every family of fruit. You can get lemon, citrus, tropical mango, pineapple, and then you get everything else. You get herbaceous fennel bulb, a little bit of mint, you get white flower, tulips, you get the slaty rock minerality, you get a little bit of salt, you get honey and acacia. You get all of that in one little glass, and for the most part, Rieslings are pretty reasonable whenever you find a really great one to put on your wine list. There's a great range, anywhere between $7 or $8 a glass, and then you can push it, I would say, to $15 a glass in higher end establishments. But on a wine list, when you're looking at a bottle list, probably by far the best bargains that you can find on a large wine list. I don't think I have one Riesling that's over $100 by the glass. Everything else is within the range of in the 30s to the 90s. So one of the best bargains in the world. Whenever you smell it, sometimes people get shocked because there's a slight petroleum or orange oil. Some people say diesel note to it. It's a sign of great vineyard management. It's a really wonderful thing, and once you get used to it, it's kind of like the first time you sip beer. You're always going to hate it, and then you get used to it, and then you start loving it. So once you get used to it, it actually becomes part of the fruit and part of the wine experience itself. And it's there, and it's wonderful. And again, it's just that sweetness. I mean, when you think about our culture, we want something sweet. We grow up on Kool-Aid, Coca-Cola Classic, if you're from Texas, Dr. Pepper. All those things have huge amounts of sugar in the actual product. This has just a little bit of sugar, and it satiates that part of my palate that I grew up with, but at the same time, it satiates that old world part of my palate that makes me want nothing but earth and minerals and acidity. So it's the best of all worlds. Don't be afraid to try Rieslings out with meat courses. I've recently paired it with a quail dish with a little bit of a shishito pepper. There's green tones, there's spiciness that really complement the sweetness of the wine, as well as the green herbaceous tones that a Riesling can have. I also love it with tartars, charcuterie, cheese. You can move them all the way into end of your meal if you're not a huge dessert fan. If you're gonna go with sorbets or kind of slightly savory desserts, there's just enough sweetness to balance that out as well. So really a truly versatile wine that people should be drinking more and more of. Again, German language, a bit remote. I'm sure that I have said producers incorrectly over and over again in my lifetime. Don't be afraid. The fact that you're trying is the best part. And just ask, if you're scared about sweetness levels, there are Rieslings that are completely dry as well. So ask your sommelier, ask your retailer. If you're in a store and there's nobody to help you, look for the word trocken. that means dry, and you're gonna get a drier style Riesling. And then after that, it just kind of depends on the producer how sweet you'll go as far as the actual sweetness level in the Riesling whenever you open it. As it ages, it's gonna get a little bit less sweet. It's all the acidity and sweetness and fruit's gonna kind of become more seamless and start to combine and die off. But if you're opening your wines right away rather than cellaring them, your sweetness level is gonna vary from time to time. So sometimes whenever you're looking at a wine list, there's such a huge variance between the sugar level of Rieslings. Sometimes the sommelier will break it off. So for me, there's only so much sugar that you should be drinking whenever you're going through your main course into your savory courses. And I'll break off a portion of my Riesling list specifically to go with desserts. I generally like to do Trocken, which is dry, Halbtrocken, which is German for half dry, Cabinet level, Spätlese, and then some Auslese levels on my main wine list. And then after that, you'll do Auslese, Beerenauslese, Trockenbeerenauslese, and ice wines on the dessert wine list, because your sugar content is just gonna get higher and higher and higher as you go up, that sometimes you just want it to go with your dessert wines because you haven't had the time to age your wine yet to allow the sugars to combine with the fruit and acidity and to kind of just become more subtle. As wine ages, sure, I have an Auslese from 77 vintage. It's probably gonna go beautiful with a full meal right now, but if you're looking at younger wines, it's just gonna be more impactful as they're in their youth. So I would kind of hold off and maybe use that for things that are incredibly spicy, like Thai food, or something like your dessert options or cheese plates before dessert. Rieslings age incredibly well. Yes, most definitely. When you think about it, there are so many preservatives in Rieslings. There's high sugar content and there's high acidity content. Both of those things are natural preservatives and will allow a bottle of wine to age for a long time. And as they're all working together, they're kind of combining more characteristics and subtlety into the wine, that they become absolutely beautiful. And also the color changes into this beautiful golden amber that's just extremely striking.